Hello everybody and welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. It's Corey and West Ham. We finally beat Burnley 1-0 at the London Stadium. I'm massively, I wouldn't say impressed. I think impressed might be a step too far, but certainly relieved that we got that result. And listen, Burnley are a tough side. We know about their defensive structure. We know about their ability up front with Wood and Barnes and how they can play off one another. And I think West Ham was set up well to deal with it. In terms of the lineup, I think it was the best lineup we could have picked, seeing Side Ben Rama in that 10 role to play in between the lines, in particular between Brownhill and Westwood. And it did work in the first half. I thought the work rate of Pablo Fornals and Jarrod Bowen was tremendous in terms of nullifying them in the wide areas and stopping them trying to get in possession and get into West Ham's half. It was fantastic. And I think what we saw, particularly in terms of transition and breaks in play, were West Ham winning the ball and transitioning very, very quickly and trying to find space in behind, whilst Burnley weren't in a defensive shape. But again, it is very, very difficult. They're a very disciplined side that will look to try and get in those two banks of four and prevent West Ham from having any clear-cut chances. Clearly, it comes to Pablo Fornals on the right-hand side. It's a fantastic delivery, and I know it gets a nick off Ben Mee, but in the preview, I said that I wanted Michail Antonio to try and play on the shoulder of the two defenders. He was in the right place at the right time, and it is a decent-ish finish. And listen, that gives West Ham a 1-0 win against the Burnley team that we know can be resolute and are struggling at the moment and probably would have taken the point. Having said that, I think towards the end of the first half, Burnley started to get a lot more possession. They started to progress a bit more. I think Aaron Creswell was troubled a little bit. He was a little bit rash at times in that half, trying to go out and win the ball, and I think that was a tactic from David Moyes, asking him, Tommy Soucek, Declan Rice to win the ball very, very quickly, to stop the second balls as well from the Burnley players and push West Ham further up the field. And to be fair, it worked tremendously. I know Burnley had a few chances, but really didn't threaten in behind or get any clear-cut space. So, again, fantastic from West Ham. You'd have to also mention the work of Tomas Soucek and Declan Rice. I said in that pivot role, particularly the way Burnley play, they look to come inside and come in central with Barnes dropping off and Wood going in beyond. And I think West Ham, with two defensive midfielders, dealt with that incredibly well, and it really stifled their play. Second half changes. The reason why it changes, for me, is twofold. Firstly, they bring on Dwight McNeil. We know his ability. I wasn't quite sure in terms of his pace. He's got fantastic pace. He can play a direct play. He can play on the left-hand side. He can beat the defender. He was causing Soufal a few issues, as well as Jarrod Bowen at times, and Burnley began to regain a lot more possession. Equally, he was getting space in the middle of the park. And I think West Ham fatigued slightly. We had to sit back a little bit. Michail Antonio wasn't able to make the same runs and hold the play up and allow West Ham to get forward. And it did allow Burnley to be a little bit more comfortable in possession, and West Ham reverted to that low block at times. And for me, I thought we dealt with well. I think at times West Ham saw the opportunity to try and break because Burnley were playing both Tarkowski and Mee at the halfway line, and you felt that if West Ham could get in behind, there would be clear-cut opportunities, of which there were many opportunities that unfortunately we didn't take. And lucky we obviously got that win, but it was an interesting game. We had to be resolute. I thought Craig Dawson was fantastic. I think this is the game that he's primed for, that he's built for. He dealt with Wood incredibly well in the first half and a little bit in that second half. They bring on Rodriguez and Vidra, and you're looking at players that are going to be a little bit mobile in behind and try and catch West Ham. I thought we were resolute. You have to look at the work rate as well of Tomas Soucek at times to sit in with that back four and protect them. Pablo Fornals, in terms of his press, I thought the way that David Moyes employed him in that second half to try and go and win the ball and stop Burnley getting possession made it a little bit more difficult towards the tail end for them to try and get a hold in the game. We had a lot of chances, and I don't really want to mention it because it is a negative. We have beaten Burnley for the first time in a while, but actually, when we get these chances, we absolutely have to take them. And I'm not going to dig out Jarrod Bowen because I thought at times today he was fantastic. His defensive work rate, his offensive work rate, stretching the play, his deliveries. But when he's in on goal, his decisiveness, it isn't good enough. He has to make those decisions a lot quicker. And I think if West Ham make those decisions quicker, in particular in the final third, and particularly when they're in on goal, that's a 2-0 game, possibly even a 3-0 game from what I spoke to with a Burnley fan. And it isn't as stressful as it needs to be. And I feel like West Ham have to start finishing these chances. Again, Michail Antonio fatigued towards the end. He didn't get taken off. It meant that also West Ham couldn't really relieve pressure. We had to sit in that low block and soak up pressure for a little bit longer than I would have liked. But ultimately, it was a good, resolute performance. I think we dealt with the midfield battle incredibly well. And listen, Michail got his goal and West Ham were comfortable enough. But in the future, please, can we just finish these chances? Because to be fair, West Ham hit him on the counter, hit him in transition, and we did have space to run into, but we didn't quite take. But that is an incredibly negative comment from me. We have beaten Burnley 1-0. It is a good performance. We do go 8th in the Premier League. We are building up a little bit of momentum here. Obviously, the Chelsea game before Christmas was a little bit of a downturn, but we're unbeaten since then. And listen, I'm looking forward to the West Brom game. I know they got a result against Wolves. They are a resolute side. They are looking a little bit more defensively solid, not necessarily from set pieces and deliveries, which I will speak about, but in terms of the team shape, I think they dealt with Wolves quite well in that last 20 minutes. So will be an interesting battle. I do think West Ham can go and get a win. But for now, I'm going to absolutely enjoy this one. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video and make sure you subscribe if you're new. And probably until tomorrow, because of the quick turnaround, take care.